So by now you will have gone through the first part of the PDF tutorial, and you'll be at the stage where you're ready to start these two drawings. The first one is going to be a line drawing. The purpose of that is really to look at shape very carefully. The second one is going to be a value drawing where we look at the light and the dark, and that gives us a really good start to our painting. And I know I went through the value study in the PDF, and you might think, oh, there's no point drawing it out myself, but it's really about understanding and absorbing these ideas, not just reading about them. So I would encourage you to do both of the exercises. So for the drawing of this, I'm going to split it up into a smaller thumbnail. So roughly the same proportions as the canvas I'll be using, which is slightly longer in the horizontal than in the height. So the first thing I'll do is set in the horizon line. The horizon line might well be hidden behind the mountains in this instance, but we could call the horizon pretty much the high water line. So where does it come? Does it come halfway up? No, it's slightly below halfway. And then just look at the line at the top of that mountain. So it starts to rise somewhere in the center of the horizontal, somewhere around there, and it goes up kind of midway between the top half of the drawing there. So when you're doing a mountain, I've explained this before to a lot of people, try not to do it as a curve, otherwise you end up with sort of very unnatural banana looking shapes. Okay, try thinking about it as a series of short straight angles, and you'll get a much more natural looking profile on your landscape. Okay, we've got a boat. That's probably the most difficult thing to draw. So first of all, I'm going to look at where I need to set it in by maybe looking at the edges of the harbour. So one end of the harbour comes to around there. The right hand side is slightly lower, maybe around there. It has a line that joins the two that comes up around to about midway, and then it's lost behind the boat. At this stage I could probably set in things like the lamppost. There's a few rocks here. These aren't so important, the shape of these things. We've got a few nice signs that we're going to try and make a little more interesting looking in our painting. And we've got sort of an upturned boat there. So drawing this boat, boats are difficult, notoriously difficult to draw. So I'm going to give you a few little clues. By now obviously you should have the printout in front of you so that you can see what I'm working on. So first of all I'm going to look at the bow of the boat, the front line, and it doesn't come vertically down, it goes slightly to an angle. Okay, and then we want to look at the bottom line of the boat, which doesn't go straight across, but it sort of bows down slightly and then rises slightly. The far end of the boat then kicks up at an angle to the opposite side of this. The really important bit is what happens along the top of this boat. And instead again of trying to get a curve, try and look at it as a series of straight lines. So if I look at the angle of the line at the back, it's rising to the right, then it comes straight, then it rises to the left, and then it rises more steeply. And if we do it out as a series of straight lines, we get a much more natural looking shape. We've got other lines in here where the seats are, and then the top line is much straighter than the bottom line. People often tend to put another big curve on, but if we look at it we can see, well, actually it's pretty much straight and just rises slightly towards the front, and then we've got a much more natural boat shape there. So I'm just going to transfer this onto the drawing. And then we also have a shadow shape coming in. Just notice these little triangles of light where the shadow doesn't come right up under the boat. Okay. Now we could just go ahead and fill that in for our value study. That's fine. There's no need to do another drawing. But if you want to, you can draw it out again, just for that extra practice. So there's my page. Now I'm going to draw this in with a lighter marker because I don't want all these dark lines conflicting with my with the effect of the drawing. So I'm just going to quickly draw this out again. And the advantage of drawing things multiple times is we've committed a lot of this work to memory. So the second drawing becomes much, much quicker. Now for filling in these values on this value study, the best thing is to squint. Half closed eyes, a lot of the colour will disappear and you'll just see the values become more apparent. Or you can use the app, the Nocturne1 app, to turn it into black and white and copy from that. So the first thing I'll do is set in my darks. And really all that boat becomes one dark mass. As does its cast shadow. Rock here. Obviously dark shapes in the distance. We also have a lot of really bright little pinpricks of light up here. We have a very light halo around the lamp as well. I'm going to go into the middle values now. So missing out the light of the lamp. And then we have some really bright lights as well here. And you can see very quickly you can get a value study which will give you light, mid and dark. Gives us a really good start and insight into our painting. So now if you want to go back to the PDF and look at the section on colour mixing, and then I'll see you back in a few minutes for the painting.